Hi, I'm Shonda Miles. Thank you for joining me. Just want to talk about life insurance and legacy. Life insurance and legacy. What will your legacy be? I know life insurance is something that nobody wants to talk about, but the truth is, if God doesn't take us up in the rapture, we will all die, right? So it's something that we need to consider. So when I think about life insurance, of course, there's two types that I'll talk about. One is term and one is whole life insurance. And whole life insurance, super easy to remember. You'll pay for whole life insurance your entire life. And so it is typically more expensive. And as you get older, you develop health problems. Of course, if you wait to get it, you'll pay more. Term insurance is just what it sounds like. It's temporary. You pay for a term, 20 years, 30 years. And so I am in the belief that typically you need a little bit of both. And so term is typically you'll pay 20 or 30 years. And so in my opinion, the term was created to help you to have some insurance while you're trying to build up your assets. And so once you have your assets built up to whatever it is that you need, then you don't need term insurance. And so some people say that term is a waste of money. I paid 30 years. Let's say, for example, you pay $100 a month for 30 years. So you spent $36,000, right? And some people say, okay, well, I've lost that money. I can never get that money back. But it depends on how you look at it, right? It's like when you think about it, it was an investment. You invested, you spent the money, you invested the money each month because if something happened to you, you wanted your loved ones to be taken care of. And of course, you wanted your loved ones to be able to bury you, right? And so I look at it like I would spend money on a nice dinner on a Friday night. That is an investment in my family. If I'm going to go out to dinner with my family, it's the same thing. I'm going to spend this $100 a month on term insurance so that it's an investment in my future. And so what I always think about is life insurance. For me, it says I thought about my future, somebody burying me. Life insurance says that I thought about my children, my husband, my family. I thought about their future. And so when I started selling life insurance a year ago, I started selling life insurance because I am super passionate about it. I could talk about it all the time. And so there's not enough people who buy life insurance. But when I started selling life insurance a year ago, it was good for me. It was a stream of income. And, if you follow me, you know that I'm all about having multiple streams of income. So it was important. But it was important that education was important for me to be able to tell people what they needed to know about life insurance, because life insurance is not just burial insurance, right? We don't just buy that life insurance so that somebody can bury us. For me, it's how can I make the next generation's lives better than my life was? How can we keep from every generation starting off at zero? So that doesn't make any sense to me. You die, or we die, and then we don't leave a dime for our children. And so there's a scripture in the Bible, Proverbs 13:22, that says, a good man, not just a man, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so when we think about life insurance, we have to think about, so let me just give you a stat. According to the American Funeral Association, they say that the average cremation is $4,000 to $9,000, depending on where you live, the ancillary services and products that you have, that you want to add to it. The average funeral is $10,000 to $20,000. And so most people don't have enough life insurance. But then when you think about, okay, if you have minor children, if something happens to you, somebody has to take care of those minor children. So it costs money to take care of those minor children. And so, when I was younger, it used to be just that older people died. We just grow up and older people died. But if you look around, we can see now that it's old people, it's young people, it's middle-aged people. So we don't know when our time will come, but it's important that we consider the future. So when you think about life insurance, you want to think about how much money will it cost me to be buried? how much money do I want to leave for if I have minor children, for somebody to take care of those minor children, even if you have a spouse, right? If I have a spouse, how much money will it take for that spouse to continue to live, a good life, right? We don't want them to be eating cat food because they can't pay for their regular expenses because, the spouse is deceased. I want to think about how much do I want to leave my children, my adult children. You might consider, if you don't have children, how much, if I give to charity. So charity is a big thing for me. I want to make sure that the charitable organizations that I give to, they can still receive the money that I would give them every single month. And so you consider that into your life insurance. So there's a lot of different components, and it's important that we don't say, I get some older men that say, I don't need life insurance, just bury me in the backyard. Well, to me, that is irresponsible. And two, when we talk about legacy, do you want your legacy to be a GoFundMe account? That's your last memory. That's what your last memory is going to be, that somebody had to put up a GoFundMe account to bury you. To me, that's irresponsible. And two, you want to think about, are people going to have to sell fish plates or barbecue plates, or have to depend on the church to bury them? And so for me, it's not the church's responsibility to take care of my own, for my death, for my funeral. It's not GoFundMe or whoever the people they give. It's not their responsibility to bury me. I think it's inconsiderate and irresponsible. So we have to consider. And two, I get older women, 80 years old, that are paying for their 45-year-old children's life insurance because they know if the children die before them, they've got to bury them, and they don't have the money. But I think it's wrong. I think we have to think about our priorities. So for me, life insurance is right up there with food and mortgage and emergency expense. It's not something that I think about as an afterthought after I spent money on things that I don't have to necessarily have. But life insurance is important. We have to think about our future. We're going to die. Our children's future, they're going to be left here, if God says the same. They're going to be left here to have to fend for themselves. And two is leaving a legacy. So I have 5 children of my own. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to leave my children $200,000 each. So 5 children, that's $1 million. So I have to have at least $1 million policy plus the amount of money to bury me and all these other things, my bills that I owe and all that. But I don't think we spend enough time thinking about how much will it cost to bury me? And then how much do I want to leave for the people that will be left behind if something happens to me? And so I know it's an unpleasant topic, but I think that it's important that we consider our future. We consider that we're not going to be here forever, and that we want to, leave our children in the best possible situation that we can. And this was so instrumental to me years ago. I read the book Jump by Steve Harvey, and he was in the story. In the book, he was telling a story. It was a grandmother talking to her grandson, and she was saying, "Do you know who your great-grandfather was?" And the little boy said, "No, I don't know who my great-grandfather was." And she said, "You don't know who he was because he didn't leave you anything." And so for me, what I think about is, I want my great-great-great-grandchildren to say, Shonda Miles was my grandmother. My life is better because she lived. And I think if we thought about how we would want somebody to have done us, we can think about how we want to treat think about our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and so forth. And so if you don't have life insurance, of course, you can send me a DM. I'll be glad to help you. If you don't want life insurance with me, if you get some life insurance with somebody. It should be a priority for us to get life insurance. So get life insurance with somebody. Learn all you can about life insurance and the cost what it would cost to bury you, and what you want to leave for your family. And you want your family to know your wishes. And so it's a conversation that we don't have for some reason, but we need to let our family members know what our wishes are, how we wish to proceed once we pass away. How do we want things to be handled? And so what will your legacy be? So that is a question I'd like for you to think about. What will your legacy be?